Yes, hello everyone. My name is Mensah Kibalan. I am a tech lead at Universal Equations. I just wanted to take a minute to talk about WordPress, a very popular content management system that allows you to host and build websites. It's over the years it's become very popular. I think the last number I saw was maybe 42% of the websites are WordPress. We'll try to talk a little bit about why that is. WordPress is used by personal bloggers, folks with portfolios, online stores, all the way up to some of the largest companies. Some of very popular names like BBC America and Walt Disney Company, right? So, and it's scalable for what it's able to do. And like I said, I've given you some of the ideas of what WordPress sites can do as far as blogs and online stores and stuff like that. And the good thing about websites in general is that you can use a certain framework or a certain system for one part of your website, and then you may use something else for the other part of your website. Maybe on some other part, maybe you have React or some other platform. I mean, whatever. But WordPress, it's good for what it's good for. I mean, you can get up and running with a website, pretty easily. Those of you who are interested in the nuts and bolts, it's essentially PHP and MySQL. As essentially what you're working with there with WordPress. So let's get into a little bit more of what it is. Like we said, it's a content management system, but let's go a little bit deeper into that. Actually, this is going to how do you get started with WordPress, and then along the way we'll talk about some of the other things that are specific to WordPress. So you have a number of WordPress hosting providers. So you'll want to find one. You want to find someone you can get a domain name from. A lot of times they'll be from the same place. I know a lot of folks like GoDaddy. You got folks like Hostinger. You got Bluehost, Kinsta. I mean, I can keep naming them. But you have WordPress hosting providers where you actually install WordPress on your instance that you're renting, monthly you're renting, or you may have a situation where Kinsta's a good example, where they have a managed WordPress, whereas you're not just getting some instance that you're installing WordPress on. WordPress is pre-installed on the instance. I mean, their company is geared towards WordPress, right? So it's already there, when you sign up. But yeah, WordPress is fairly easy to install. Like I said, you can once you get an instance, a lot of these companies will take it to a dashboard where you can just click and it'll install WordPress right on your instance, and then you're good to go. Set up your account, you're good to go. But yeah, once you do all that, like I said, you've installed WordPress, you got your domain name. Then you pick your theme, which is the look and feel of the website, and then you can further customize this theme to fit your brand. What logos and your brand colors, etc. You can further customize to fit your brand. You can customize the navigation menu. There will be a number of options that you can choose to further customize it. So the WordPress themes. That's one of the big parts of WordPress. That's one of the things that make it attractive, because you can shop for themes. You can go to elegantthemes.com or some of these other websites. You can get you a nice theme. You can get a preview of it, see how it performs, etc. And if you like it, you buy it. You can install it on your WordPress instance. And voila! I mean, you're ready to customize it and get it ready for your website. So once you've decided on a theme, you customize it, it fits your brand, then you can start creating content, whether it's static pages, content pages, about us pages, posts that you're just creating posts related to your company, etc. But yeah, I mean, there's an editor that you can use. The editor will often have ready-made components, image galleries, etc. You don't need a ton of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript knowledge to create web pages and posts with WordPress. That's one of the reasons why it's attractive, because you don't need to have that in-depth knowledge. So you can get up and running with a website really quickly, have your web presence. Your web presence represents and you do want to have a web presence. So even if you don't want to pay someone thousands of dollars to create a site for you, if you got a pretty good idea of what you want your website to look like, I mean, you can ultimately figure it out, how to create a WordPress website. Just looking at YouTube videos, going through tutorials, whatever, you can generally figure it out for some of the more basic functionality. Now, we've talked about the WordPress themes. The other big part of WordPress is the WordPress plugins, and there are a lot of them. There are a lot of them. A lot of companies have taken upon themselves to create WordPress themes. You also have WordPress plugins. I'm sorry. You also have developers who have developed their own WordPress plugins. Some of them are open source. Some of them you may have to pay the developer a fee to download and use. So some of the plugins people use are things like for SEO. There are plugins for anything you can imagine. There are plugins for that. And again, between the WordPress themes and the WordPress plugins, those are two things that make WordPress very user friendly, very usable. So just wanted to make sure we touched on that. So another thing I need to talk about, because you have the pros and cons. One quote unquote con is, I guess with the good comes the bad, because I guess you got to think like a criminal. If you know that 42% of the websites are WordPress, then guess what? You're going to target your attacks to WordPress attacks. You're going to be thinking about, how can I compromise WordPress sites? So security is going to be an issue. So you're definitely going to want to, whoever your word hosting provider is, you're going to want to ask them about security. There are plugins. You got stuff like Web Defender, but make sure that you're thinking about that when you're creating your WordPress site, because anything, this is not just calling out WordPress, but anything that's very popular, like I said, the criminal mind, if it's really popular, then these folks are going to try to compromise your site and get information. Or maybe something more benign. Maybe they're just spamming your comment your comment queue. So you may want a situation where you're actually reviewing the comments and posting the ones that are legitimate. So you want all that stuff in place. So I think we've said enough about WordPress. We've talked about the WordPress themes, WordPress plugins. Then the types of plugins, like I said, you got SEO, you got security, you got things for contact forms, you got any plugin for anything you can name. So once you get there, I mean, you're at a good spot. But once you're comfortable with your site, and we've already talked about SEO, or search engine optimization. Once you talk about, once you're comfortable with your site, then you can think about how to drive traffic to it. And other than SEO, you got things like social media marketing, you got email marketing, you got different ways of driving traffic to your site. So with all that in mind, I think you're ready for WordPress. I think you got a good idea of what makes it popular, the usability. You don't need a ton of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript knowledge to get up and running. You gotta, there's a lot of places you can go to get a reputable web WordPress hosting provider, whether it's managed WordPress or whether you go to a panel and just click install the WordPress there. You got a ton of themes to choose from. You got another ton of plugins to choose from to extend its functionality. So, like I said, it's a good platform. And like I said, even if you only have part of your website that's WordPress, and maybe you have another part of your website that's something else, React.js, something else, that's fine. WordPress has an API. You can pull content from the WordPress API. There's a number of things that you can do with it to get the desired functionality. So, I mean, it's popular for a reason. I guess, we've come all the way through this to get to this point. It's popular for a reason, and it's a platform worth mentioning, for that reason, because it's popular and it's popular for a reason. But anyhow, I think I've said enough. We'll talk. As always, feel free to click the subscribe button or click the like button. Help us get this content out more frequently. But anyhow, thank you. Talk to you later. Peace.